G'day, listeners. Welcome to Barkarati, the Sailing Podcast, the podcast voted the second best podcast in the world. My name is Jordan Spencer, and joining me is my good mate, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
How are you, bud?
Second best.
Yep.
What?
Well,
Why?
Well, I just didn't want to sound egotistical, mate.
Oh, so you voted at second best.
No, lots of people have. There's no ego in this podcast, mate. There's no ego. It's just
I don't go second best for anyone.
we're not claiming best though. Like we know where we're at, but we're just not going to claim it.
Oh, I am. We're world's best. World's best. Okay.
Now we know where you stand. Let's bring in the other bloke,
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Boss.
My reply there, Jay, would have been, they still haven't found the best.
Exactly. There you go. You got to keep aspiring for better.
Yeah, absolutely. Big week, man. Just a quick one.
What did your Land Rover break down?
Yeah, good on you, mate. We'll save the Land Rover banter for later. I saw the outro notes, by the way. Just a quick one, T-shirt world. I rang our main T-shirt man, Tommy here in Adelaide.
Tommy T-shirt.
And I got to say, I went around to Tommy's house, Tommy's office and where he does all the screen printing and all that sort of stuff, and I was impressed. There's some pretty cool stuff going on.
Good.
And I told him how many orders we've had thus far, and he was blown away. So Big thank you to everyone who's put their orders in.
Yep.
And first production run is being printed literally next week, or this week, sorry. So that will be happening and looking for dispatch. So get ready. They're on their way.
Very cool. Very cool. My old man sent through all those suggestions of some great T-shirt ideas about a month too late, so thanks, Dad, for that.
He's working on the next run.
Thanks, Ian. We've added that to the into a special folder.
into the special folder.
Oh, dear. All right. Speaking of special, we've got another special guest this week. Remember, we've got a theme for the next 3 weeks, so see if you can work out what the theme is. Are we ready to introduce our guest?
Are they going to win a prize if they guess the theme?
Of course, we'll spin the wheel at least. I don't know what the prize will be. Probably one of those.
All I will say, actually, before you introduce the guest, is I think there's a special button in your podcast, your player, that you can actually translate things.
Right.
Maybe you just need to slow it down a few notches to understand.
The accent's going to be tough. Yeah. All right. Okay.
No, all good.
All good. All right. So I'm going to do a quick intro, and we'll talk about his achievements afterwards. But the main reason we wanted to get this man on is to give him the right of reply. He's been the butt of a lot of stories so far. He's been the centre of so many stories, and we know him really well. And he is a major influencer in the world, in our sport, and he will be someone that you really want to hear the story, because if you want to really understand some of the background and what's going on in the world of sailing, this man can really help. So again, though, we wanted to give him a platform to reply to some of the stories made at his expense. We want to introduce, of course, our good little mate, Mr. Brian Carlin.
This aggression will not stand, man.
I'd like to say thank you for the intro, but
No.
if I was the butt of people's jokes, we can't start with the dildo story. We're going to have to push that a little bit later.
Of course, mate. Of course.
Too close together, you know?
Yeah. Look, I just wanted to make sure that we got that out there. I mean, you've done so much, so I will give you the rundown for people. I just wanted to do that little sort of intro. But so Brian, I guess he was onboard reporter where I've got to know him is as the onboard reporter for Team Vestas Wind in the 2014-15 Volvo Ocean Race, and then he was the manager for all the onboard reporters in the last edition, and he's been someone, and right now I think you're doing Team Denmark Rockwool for the Sail GP. You've done a whole bunch of the World Match Racing Tour. You've done the America's Cup. But pretty much you're the man to talk to when it comes to some of that amazing footage that we've seen from the Volvo and all these events has come down because of you. So we wanted to talk about that whole experience, what it's like, how you got into it and the whole thing. So that's why you're on the show, mate, not the story. We just want to give you a platform as well, though.
Well, BP gets to see the face of the story now, doesn't he?
That's it.
I didn't know the story from
I know
at all.
I was listening to this podcast going, how did you not tell them this story? This is the first time I get introduced to people that story comes out.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard the story, we'll bring it up later on, of course. But from Brian's perspective, you should have heard the story. If you haven't listened to the show, you're missing out. Go back and hunt. Okay, mate, so I'll start with the first question. How did you get into... well, you're an architect by trade, aren't you?
Yeah, I was working back in... Well, I was working in Dublin, I was working in Cork, and I moved around different sailing clubs, but sailing was always a part of it, you know? So I started sailing off mirror dinghies. I don't know what they'd be like to... I don't know if you have them down in Australia, but they're pretty common in Europe. And... started sailing, became a sailing instructor and, you know, the usual stuff, but went to college, studied architecture and then started working. But at the same time, when I moved to Dublin, I started hanging out with a couple of guys in the Hote Yacht Club and started match racing. And that's where the real love of it started. And we did a lot of, actually, we did match racing for about 4 years. And we did quite well, actually. But it wasn't good enough to become a professional sailor. So we dived into the SB3 or SB20 as it's called now for a while. And we did a Worlds in the UK and in Dublin, actually. But still wasn't really cutting it. But at the same time, while the architecture was going on at the side, that's where I kind of, in university, I kind of started messing around with cameras. And then the sailing started continuing. And then one I don't know, it was back in 2010 or 2008. Someone said, hey, if you're not going to come to the event this weekend, can you pop over on Sunday afternoon and take some photos? So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll try. So that turned into one of these things where you took more club photographs and I wasn't really going anywhere. I had no particular desire to become a professional photographer or anything like that. And then the recession hit pretty bad in 2008 in Ireland with the architecture business and construction. And I was one of the very few lucky people who had a job. And in 2011, the sailing was coming along and the photography local was coming along. And then I started doing a couple of events where I was getting paid and I was taking time off work. And I said to myself, oh, maybe I could become a sailing photographer. My mother just went, you joking, right? You have a perfectly good job in an architect's office, one of the very few people that are employed in the entire country, and you want to leave it to become a sailing photographer? What do you know about sailing photography? I was like, I'll figure it out. So it was kind of funny because the story actually brings in Marcus Hutchinson. I'd moved back to Cork at this stage, and I was in Kinsale Yacht Club, and one of the local guys says, you need to talk to that fellow over there about your photographs. He'll help you. And I said, who's this guy? He goes, Marcus Hutchinson. I said, who the hell is Marcus Hutchinson? Not realizing who he was, of course, because, you know, I was sheltered in this world. Like, I used to watch Tor Vermeersky inside in the architecture office, you know, when the World Match Racing Tour was on. So my desires as a kid was like looking up to all of these sailing events. I thought it was amazing. I was like, this is awesome. And then I meet this guy called Marcus in the yacht club. He says, you need to talk to him about your photographs. So I showed Marcus and he says, yeah, I really like them. You need to send them to here, here, and here and tell them I sent you. And I guess you'll be published. And sure enough, the next couple of days, Yachts and Yachting and various different publications pushed them. I was like, holy shit, this is kind of cool. So I said to him, I said, Marcus, can I meet you for a cup of coffee and discuss a future in sailing? And he said, yeah, sure, no worries. So a couple of days went by. It was at the end of the month. This is I like this story because things were pretty tight money-wise back then in 2011. And I said to him, I'll meet you for a cup of coffee. But Kinsale is a 25-minute drive. So on Saturday, I texted on Friday, and on Saturday morning, I'd been down, did my shopping, spent my last bit of money, and I was getting paid on Monday again. So I was like, so I had €5 to my name. And Marcus says, yeah, come on out for a coffee and meet me in the Dock Bar. I was like, oh, shit, I have no money. But I knew I had enough petrol to get there, and I'd €5 in coins. That was 2 coffees, sorted. So I go to meet him. I'm a bit nervous. I can't really concentrate on the conversation because all I was thinking was, if this guy orders a pink snack, I'm screwed.
Hope he doesn't order an Irish coffee. Or is that what you were talking about?
I just couldn't. I couldn't believe it. But we went on, and he said, "Look, Brian, I'm going to ask you to do things, and I'm going to ask you, and you're going to have to just do them and not ask questions, and I'll make you something." And I just went, "Okay, you're going to make me into a sailing instructor. I will make this happen for you, but you need to do what I say." So thank God he offered to pay for the coffees, and I drove home. And 2 weeks later, I was back in the office, and he says, "Hey, mate, this is 2011. He goes, "What are you doing next week?" I said, "I'm in the office." He goes, "Can you take some more holidays?" I said, No, I've taken all my holidays for the year. I can't." He said, "You need to get unpaid leave or something." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, because I've just signed you up. You're the official photographer for the French America's Cup team, Aleph." I was like, "What? What?" I said, I don't even have the right equipment." "Yeah, don't worry. We'll hire it. We'll get you sorted." And then a week later, I was in a room with Carlo Borlinghi, Sandra van der Borsch, all of the big greatest names in sailing. I was like, holy crap, how the hell did I end up here? And that's how it all started. It was the weirdest experience. And he was one of the most influential people, I'd say, starting me in the career to where I am today.
Quick rise to
Bizarre.
fame.
It's the luck of the Irish is the term, isn't it?
Luck of the Irish, yeah.
No, I wouldn't. Honestly, the first 2 years were bloody hard. I think I earned €12,000 in the first year. It was one of those things where everybody was just like, "Mate, you're not going to make any money in this. You just might as well give it up." And there was a point where I was like, I'm just going to give this up. I can't afford to keep doing this because the camera kit's expensive. I was barely making any money. I was borrowing money off my dad left, right, and center. And then in 2013, I got my first big paid gig with the Clipper race. I was like, okay, We're onto something here. And that's how it all kicked off.
Very cool.
And yeah. So
Cool. So, moral of the story: don't turn up with your Kodak instant snap camera when Carlo Borlinghi's sitting next to you. But
honestly,
it must be pretty intimidating. I'm sitting alongside Carlo, Sander, those guys.
Yeah.
And like they've obviously been, well, Carlo especially been in the game for a long, long time. But to absorb some of this experience would have been
exactly.
Yeah.
Even the kit. I sat up my desk, but a laptop was from 1984. I was writing IBM, I'd say, on it, and they were all on MacBooks. And I just went, and Sander was looking at me, just going, "What is that?" I was like, "Mate, it's a computer." And he was just like, "The noise out of the fans alone are disturbing the media room." It was so old. I was just like, "Man, I'm just starting off." And he was just like, "Yeah, nah, you just get a Mac, and you're going to have to spend money on expensive cameras, and you're just not going to survive this way." So I pitched to the bank when I came back for a business loan. And funny enough, they gave me the loan, and I went off and bought a load of kit, and I was like, "This is great," but I had no jobs to work on it then.
Yeah, right.
But I eventually got there. But yeah, it's super intimidating. And to be honest, it was kind of funny. Most guys were really, really helpful, but there was one or two individuals who basically did not want me there. They were like, "You're not going to, dilute the pot anymore. We've enough sailing photographers in the world." But for the most part, everybody was pretty helpful, to be fair. And Marcus was, the following year he gave me the job at the Artemis Offshore Academy with the Figaro. So I did like 2 or 3 seasons with them. And it kind of went crazy. It snowballed. I blagged my way into a job with the World Match Racing Tour. Sam Usher was Redhanded TV at the time, and I said that Sam, I sent him a CV and all the rest, and of course just was all BS. And I rocked up to this event in Germany 10 o'clock at night into like a lederhosen party. I was like, "What's going on here? Is this the world of sailing? What is this about?" And he says,
"Lucky I brought my lederhosen."
It was like Oktoberfest or something.
I
was
feel
like,
right
"What
at
the hell
home
is
here."
going on?" This is so weird. And I think it was the first time I'd left Ireland in 27 years or something. I shit you not. I was on one foreign holiday as a 16-year-old in France. I had never left the country beforehand. It was bizarre. I was just in this world I was totally unaware of. I was like, "Oh, okay." And he says, you're going to be working on, we'll have an RF pack tomorrow, and we'll be going to be doing this, and we're going to be using the PMW 500. I was like, holy shit, calm. So I left that beer with him, and I went over to the other camera, and I said, what's a PMW 500? He was like, have you never used the camera? What are you doing here? I'll learn. Give me an hour in the morning. And I did. I took an hour in the morning, blagged my wig, went to the event, and Sam turned around to me and says, he says, you're good at the bullshit, but you pulled it off. I'll hire you for the rest of the year.
I'm just trying to keep track of all the different programs that you've got on.
Yeah.
So I've written a Leaf, good at the bullshit. Clipper, good at the bullshit. Artemis, good at the bullshit. Max Racing Tour,
Good at the
just
bullshit.
nailed it.
But be honest though, I do want to speak up though. Like one thing I notice is that you have a real eye for the composition. So when I look at if you go and look at your show reel, you're good at the bullshit. You're good at the bullshit, but you do have an actual eye for the composition. There's no doubt about that.
I guess I think the 13-14 race on the Clipper was, I only went there as a cameraman, and I started taking pictures properly offshore. And I soon realized I was like, this could be pretty cool, actually. And I just developed this skill. I had no formal training or anything. But I guess, if you're an architect, you kind of have the spatial awareness and the proportions and everything you learn in that discipline, I think can be applied to photography in a kind of an abstract way. And honestly, I was kind of funny. I talked to Ainoa Sanchez. She's the photographer in the ocean race at the minute and did the last one. But she said, I think your best work was in the 14-15 race. And I kind of wonder, I was like, well, I think the offshore work for certainly, because I think when I got to the 17-18 race, I was over going offshore at this stage. I'd done two, I've done two round the world races and never finished any of them. I claim to fame. But, not against my own faults. There was other predetermining factors that hindered me to do it. I think 14-15 race for me on the Volvo was probably the best year. I was just super hungry, And I went into that first leg and, Chris Nicholson being the skipper, he pushes people hard. And you think it's only the sailors. No. He was on top of me all the time, trying to make me better. At the time, I just thought he was being a pain in the ass. But actually, he was really trying to make me better and ask questions that hadn't been asked before. And I came into Cape Town. We went to that prize-giving ceremony in Inmarsat were sponsoring it. And I won the first leg. I was like, wow, all I have to do is win 3 of these and I win the overall prize. I was like, this is possible. And then the second leg, when I got those photographs on the reef, I was like, nailed the second leg award. Don't even have to finish. Got this in the bag.
Oh, you zoomed out the bloody nav, didn't you? It was all down to you.
I needed something creative for the portfolio. And that incident, although it was pretty bad for everybody else, made my career, I'd say. I mean, I wouldn't say it made my career, but it definitely helped accelerate my name around the world.
Well, not only from a photography point of view, but also from a commentary point of view.
Yeah, I'm being booked in for the 2021 Olympics.
No, it was a fantastic, and I mean, that experience just in itself, while we're talking about it, and what you were actually going through, maybe for the listeners that haven't heard it, just take us back to that time where you were. You don't have to go word for word, but it's a pretty good explanation of what happened.
Not the actual story, though, just the actual the sailing side of it.
Yeah, well, hang on a second now, right? So everybody starts bagging me off. Tony Ray, which I'll probably see soon, and Nikolai, which I was with last week in Denmark. Mm-hmm. And they're all talking about the story with the dildo or the rubber duck. Well, okay, right. What you got to understand is I was stitched up by Nikolai before we hit that reef because I was sitting.
Well, we all know that.
I'm sitting on the.
Yeah, I'm talking about
sitting on the heads.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you're coming in there just having a little relax, and then next thing you know, whooshka.
Yeah, we had just done a live cross to TV2 in Denmark with Peter and Nikolai, and I said, the food is on. I was like, okay, the food's on. Of 20 minutes, I was I'm just going to use the heads. So I went in, used the heads, and it was down to my underwear. And I was like, this bloody rash from the, the salt, yachty body, whatever you call it. And it was all over my legs. I was like, So I was like, okay, let's get the big tub of Sudocrem out. And Tony Ray mixed it up with antibacterial cream. I was like, big, massive tub of this. So, in the 65, there's a toilet. And then we have a little tray with all our toiletries in it and stuff. So I was there, and I'd finished, but I hadn't flushed, okay? Tom Kiff reminds me of this every time I see him. And I was standing there, and then I had this tub of cream out in my underwear, and I was putting this Sudocrem all over my legs, and I was like, And then I heard this kind of, this little creak. I was like, what? And then bang, I get lifted with the tub of Sudocrem through the air and go and rotate like 180 degrees and land after smashing my head off the forward bulkhead, which must be 4 meters away, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
4.5 meters away.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And land on the floor beside this storm jib with my underwear around my ankles going, holy shit, what happened? What just happened?
And a tub of cream.
And the frickin' Sudocrem was everywhere. It's like I was whitewashing the inside. I was like, holy crap. So I...
Literally.
That's the whole reason we had to throw that hull away.
Well, actually, I think. Oh no, yeah, that whole hull was replaced. Yeah, but and then I was like, oh fuck, this is pretty bad. We must have hit a container or something. I was like, this is whoa. And we were doing 23 knots, so I ran up, like put my underwear back on, obviously. Ran through the cockpit in and looked out the side of the boat, and there was just water everywhere. I was like, that's not a container, man. We're on a reef. I was like, damn. So I hit the crash. The crash button was the key thing there, because we have, you know, we always record the stern camera. It's constantly recording, and then after 30 minutes, it deletes itself and records again. But if you have an impact or if there's an incident on deck, if you hit the red button to record, it saves it to a computer downstairs. So that's what I did. So I was like, right, footage. Now, I didn't realize how much danger we were in that immediate moment. I was just reflex to record. And then when I went back to the nav desk to check what was going on, Wouter was there, and I could see him zooming in on the map. I was like, oh, yeah, that's not even a reef. That's a freaking island, man. It's 25 nautical miles long. I was like, okay. This isn't going too well for us. So I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, Tony Ray was off grabbing flares. Salty was trying to secure the rig. Nico was on the sat phone to HQ, and I was like, yeah, there's water coming. I'm sitting in the little, I don't know, for your listeners, there's the nav desk and the OBR desk are beside each other at the back of the boat, and I could see this like bits of the boat poking through. I was like, what's that? I was like, oh, that's rock.
Yep.
Oh, this isn't good. I said to Water, we better close the lazarette hatch, you know, stop water coming in. And he was like, yeah. And I said, oh, no, scrap that. There's something poking underneath my foot. There was a bit of the reef coming up. I was like, nah, you can't lock off the entire boat. So and then I realized quickly, I said, oh, but the footage I just got, if I don't copy it from because the computers were sitting in this watertight case, but the level of water was coming up to where the vents were. And I said, oh, if that gets up there, it's going to destroy everything. I was like, shit, okay. Right, let's start copying. But I couldn't find any of the bloody cables, right? Because obviously everything went flying when we hit the reef. So I had to do it over the Wi-Fi. So I was sitting in my underwear with the laptop on my lap with the water up to my ankles, splashing around trying to copy this footage, going, come on. 8 minutes? Are you kidding me?
With a tub of cream.
And a Chiquito floating around in the front of the boat.
Old white legs.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the funny bit, because I eventually got this footage copied, and I put the laptop up on the bunk and stuff, and then Cicho kept shouting at me, put on your survival suit, Like, mate, it's 28 degrees. What the hell is a survival suit going to do? Anyway, so I eventually put the survival suit on, and I was like, okay, got to keep just shooting this. So I grabbed the camera and started putting the light in my face, because no one would give me an interview. I don't know why. I mean, you know, maybe they probably did a bit on. So I was like, okay, well, I was told if you can't get an interview, just shoot yourself. So I did. And if you see that footage, I was like, is it in focus? I'm like, really? Am I going into this much detail in this situation? Why am I worried about if it's in focus or not? Just shoot. So I was shooting this thing, and you'll see, BP, you'll see from the footage, if you look back, there is a big white patch underneath my chin, and that's where the tub of Sudocrem exploded. Watch it back and you'll see it.
All righty. And that goes for all our listeners who have rolled along with this one so far and are having a bit of a chuckle.
Haven't ever had a pimple since 2014 under your chin. The Tony Ray special antibacterial cream has taken care of that.
And it's been really easy to shave.
Yeah, I just have this permanent patch of baldness underneath my chin. I mean, I took gallons of it, like.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was the story of the Sudocrem. It was even on camera.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, but I mean, we can't sort of laugh at the situation. Obviously, there was a fair bit of seriousness going on around you as well.
I can laugh at it because I lived it. I can laugh at it now. But I said that to someone recently. Said, but you got to take this seriously. I was like, no. If anybody can take this out of it, it's me.
So okay, just for 1 minute, we're going to go into the 23% part of our show. We are going to be serious. So this is all happening around you. What were you really thinking? I mean, there was obviously a lot of, not panic, but a lot of things going on around you.
Oh, yeah. And initially, I was just like, oh, this is probably bad. And then I was like, oh, we'll be all right. And then when I saw the reef and I looked out, because the moon, it was a full moon that night, so the whole thing was lit up for miles either side of us. I was like, oh, shit, this is not good. And you can see it in the video. I was shitting myself. I'm not going to lie. I really thought at one stage we were going to die because, we were we didn't know where we were. We weren't aware of what we hit. It just got dark, so we had another 7 or 8 hours before it got bright again. There was a lot of confusion. I mean, I think Tony Ray put it best, but everything that we did got us out of there in one piece. We just followed. It was a textbook example. What we probably could have done was stayed on the boat until the end, but at the time you had to make a judgment call about jumping off and getting into the life raft. But there was moments where I was just like, oh shit, this isn't good. I mean, I was my hands were shaking. I was proper scared. I don't think I've ever been that scared, to be honest, in my life before. I mean, I've had a couple of close calls and stuff on things, but nothing like that. When you really, I think it was initially the first couple of minutes anyway, was where you really did not have any clue of what was going on. You really didn't know. And then when we got some information from HQ on the sat phone and stuff, we're like, okay, maybe it's okay. But still, man, it was a pretty scary experience. Even when we got into the life raft, there was bloody sharks everywhere. I was like, oh, great, survive the crash and get eaten by a shark. I mean, that would be
just like ironic. One of those cartoons where in the life raft and the sharks are circling you.
In all seriousness, apparently 2 weeks before we hit this reef, there was a fisherman who had his arms bitten off by a shark pulling nets or something. So I was like, this is for real. And naturally, I was the first one in the life raft. Nikolai was like, I've never seen you move so fast.
I was going to say, it'll be Tony or Nikolai. But, hey, Brian, just walk the life raft over there, will you?
That was our 23% of seriousness. So move on.
So the sun comes up. You're in the life raft, are you, when the sun comes up?
Yeah.
And you kind of then get to view everything from in daylight?
Yeah, we had about 3 hours of darkness while waiting for the sun to come up to see where we were and what the hell was going on. Nikolai tell you he fell asleep in the life raft and was snoring. Oh. Who does that in a life raft?
Yeah,
Who falls asleep?
I'd easy do that. Jordan would definitely do that. 100%.
Absolutely.
I know that.
Nothing else you can do.
Well, I guess it was a waiting game because this thing was floating around this lagoon with sharks. We didn't tie it to a big boulder or whatever it was. So the next morning we wake up and we're looking out and the sun's coming up and we can see Alvi Medica off in the distance. They were on standby for the night. Not that they could really help us, I suppose, because you weren't going to paddle a life raft 3 miles out to deeper water. And then we see this boat on the reef. I was like, oh, yeah, that's not going to buff out, boys. That is in a bad state. And then we had Coxie on the phone going, we need photographs. We need to see what the damage is.
You said, you don't need to worry about it. It's damaged.
Did you say something like...
Don't worry about bringing a tube of sicker, Coxie.
No, I'm thinking from a photography perspective. Did you say something? Actually, we're about to get to the... what's that zone, when the lighting's really perfect?
Oh, yeah, the twilight zone. Well, see, the thing was at this stage, I had one camera and one GoPro, and I had one memory card and one battery in the camera. So, and I didn't know how long we were going to be there, so I had to be super, super selective about what shots I took. And also, Nico wanted a lot of photographs for the insurance. So to because it's pretty remote play. You can't bring the insurance assessor out there and go, well, here she is, as you can see. That bit's missing. So I had to take a lot of shots that were not particularly creative or stylish, but also for the insurance company. So I had to document it pretty heavily. And it was, we spent, 2.5 days on the island, and I got, the shots were amazing. I mean, I didn't have to I could have shot on an iPhone. Really, it was magical. But we eventually got off the island with some fishing boat that was swinging by. But there was all sorts of crazy plans, like how to get rescued. There was a Maersk ship coming. The Navy from the Gulf of Aden might come, and it was just this stuff. Like, you couldn't believe the conversations we were having with people. You know,
I think the whole story from start to finish is an episode in itself. But one thing I want to just mention, which the listeners wouldn't know about, but during that whole episode, basically all the guys left and the locals were in charge of looking after the boat or just keeping an eye on it for a couple of weeks. So when the boys come back with the insurance assessors and all that, with the idea to put it back on a ship, they go to the boat. In the meantime, they've taken everything off that they can, but they go back to the boat, no engine. 75 horsepower Volvo Penta gone.
Oh, yeah, but
plus
the island the island got electricity all of a sudden.
Exactly. Plus, the tracker sitting off the back of the boat has battery backup also, and you could, in HQ, you could see where the boat was, which was fine. And then all of a sudden, the tracker went dead. And about 3 months later, the tracker came back up, and it's been powered up on a fishing boat fishing around Mauritius. I'm not sure what they thought it was, but all of a sudden you've got this. Vestas is now going fishing. They stole the tracker antenna.
I guess we have to, right about now, we have to have your version of the infamous marital aid story and what you packed in your survival suit. Do you want to answer this in any way at all? Or?
Yeah, in my defense, this started in Alicante. So I went away for a weekend while they were polishing the boat or putting whatever. They were buffing the boat before it went into the water. And I said, guys, I need to go back to Ireland because I need to sign these papers with the solicitors so I don't have to pay all of this bloody income tax because I was going offshore for 9 months. And they were like,
I want it to go down from 9% to 3%.
And the boys were like, "Oh, how convenient! The one weekend we're going to have a buffer over our head for the next 9 hours over 2 days." I was like, "Oh, seriously, I got to do this." So they were like, "Okay, fine, go do your thing." So I came back and on Monday morning came into the team base and I had bought a scooter to travel from around the boatyard. It's a pretty long, wasting an awful lot of time walking. So I got a scooter. Anyway, came back to find the scooter wrapped in vinyl pink. And I believe SCA may have had something to do with it.
Magenta. We'll call it magenta.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll call it magenta. And it was wrapped in this vinyl magenta color that was obviously given or donated from probably Sarah Hastretter or one of them gave it to Nikolai and the boys. And they painted the whole scooter was covered. And on the handlebars, there was the aforementioned marital aids. 2 of them. So anyway, I got my own back because some of the married men on the team, just before we were leaving, I'd slip it into their kit bag. So when they got back to the hotel, they'd open up the kit bag and I'm like, okay, explain to your wife that one. So this was doing the rounds for a bit, but there was senior management, I think, that might have been copping on to what was going on. So they disappeared. And funny enough, one of them was vacuum packed into my survival suit in Alicante pre-race. So, of course, Nikolai's in his innocence thought this would be a pretty funny thing to do. In the Southern Ocean, Brian takes out his jacket, his survival suit, he pulls out this plastic dildo. This will be really good. Little did he know I was going to need the knife that was replacing that marital aid in a real-life situation. And then Nico was on the boat, like we're numbering off his knives, and I pull out this thing, and I'm holding this 6-inch plastic thing. And then Nico says, "This is not the time, mate." And then I was like, "Where's my fucking knife?" And then all you can hear in the darkness is Nikolai in the background going, "My bad." I was like, "Oh, boys, like you're having one here." So he did. He gave me his knife in the end, and that I'm sure that floated off to some other island, and there's a very happy couple using it right now. Plastic. It's got a long lifespan.
Hope it's not attached to that 75 horsepower Volvo.
I was going to say, does it have a tracker?
Obviously, you guys are still friends because you work together now with Team Rockbull. So I will say that it's very hard to stay angry at Nikolai. He's a good man. So
he is.
Yeah, so it all in jest, but yeah, there you go. So it is a lot of fun. And then I think, don't want to step on anybody else's toes, but I reckon we should step up to the next edition because you took on a different role where you actually were in charge of the onboard reporter program, and you actually selected the onboard reporters. Is that right?
Yeah, not all of them, but more than half, I think, in the end. Yeah, so after the race, after the 14-15 race, Nikolai rang me a couple of weeks afterwards and he says, well, what are you doing? I said, nothing, I'm just taking a break. He said, we're going to do the World Match Racing Tour. Do you want to come along as the photographer? So I did that in the 16, and then we started 17 edition. And I said, Nikolai was talking about potentially getting a team with Chris in, and I said, well, what do you think? So he said, well, if we're going to do it, you can come as the onboard reporter. But then there was this rumor and shift that the organization were going to bring it in-house. So I was approached then by Leon Sefton, and he said, I have this position. Would you run this onboard reporter program? So the previous edition of 14-15, the teams hired the OBR. And they paid them, and they put them up with the housing, and there was part of the team, and they did everything. They went to the gym. Reluctantly, I went to the gym with them, and so on. And then, don't be laughing at me. Tony Ray is a beast in the gym, and he treats you just like, and it's not fair. But anyway, so we go to the 17 edition. So Leon says, "Well, we're going to bring it all in house." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Well, Mark Turner's decided we're going to hire the OBRs and we're going to rotate them and we're going to do this. And I went, I'm not sure about this, because do I agree with this new shift in movement? And then I thought, well, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. So I went in, met Leon, met Mark, and discussed the whole thing. And they had started the process of getting the onboard reporters. They'd sent out this call to action to submit some applications, and we can get into that in a second about who applied. But and then fundamentally, I was asking the question, is this a good idea? Is this the right way to approach it? And Mark won me over with the idea, well, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be like war reporters. We're going to take a different angle on how to do it. And I think it's going to work. I said, okay, I think it may work, but I think we're going to get a lot of pushback. But let's see how it goes. So we started in Jess, and I started in April, I think, or sometime. And I really should have started like 3 months before then. It was incredible, the amount of stuff we had to do, because we had to buy all the cameras. We had to buy even the clothing alone. Like, there was pallets of stuff arriving into the office, and it was like, who's this for? OBR program, OBR program, OBR program. And it was just boxes. It was chaos. We had to write up manuals on how to deal with conflicts on the boat, and there was a lot of technical side. Samuel had an awful lot of technical stuff to figure out how to basically get the content off the boat in a way that because before it was chaos, right? Because everybody just did their own way of naming stuff and filing stuff and calling it. So we had to bring everything in and centralize it. So that took nearly 6 months of my time to do. And I don't even think I had enough time to do it properly, to be honest. It was just, as this was going on, we were trialing OBRs as well. So it was just chaos. So going back to, before I started losing the run of myself, going back to the process was, this is just pre my time, but they basically set up a microsite and asking people to submit a 2-minute video of themselves and write something as to why you would be a good onboard reporter. And they had about 10,000 hits on the site. But in fact, the criteria was a little bit off-putting for people, because you really did have to do quite a lot of work in it. So the 2-minute video, you really needed, that's where you had to shine. So to make it to that list where we started culling numbers. So we got down to about 40 people, and I started joining at this stage. And the likes of Conrad Frost, obviously a well-known cameraman okay, he's in. Sam Greenfield, okay, he's done the race before. He's super creative. He's a great guy. He's in. I don't know that Amory even applied for that year. But so there was some of the regulars that wanted to go, like Jan Ryu wanted to go, but he didn't want to do the whole race. So we said, well, actually, this is the perfect setup now, because we can rotate and move people in and out. So, we'll be able to be a bit more flexible. So we got some of the applications in, and we got down to the last 10 people. And it was pretty difficult, because there was a lot of really talented people. I mean, really talented people. So we put them on a trial. And to be fair to Don Fong, I think Charles took more or less all of them nearly, because they were the only ones that were on the water. And it came down to not so much about, for the teams, about their skills as a photographer, drone pilot, or whatever. It was about the personality. Did they get on with the team? So this already started going red flags to me, going, ooh, What about if he's amazing and he doesn't get on with anybody? It's going to be impossible to work. So I started seeing some cracks in the program, but I said, no, Mark has our back. He will support us through this. So that's what we did. And in the early days, we had a lot of difficulty. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of very negative people towards it. In hindsight, I don't know that we see. Mark left at the early stages of the race. Then so he stepped back, and we had an interim. Richard and Johan came in interim to run it. So it was a situation where now we got the highest guy in the office is now taking a step back and has gone. So we don't have that support. So we ran into a lot of problems. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, you talk. I had a couple of very interesting conversations with Bruno Dubois. Where there was a couple of interesting. He's French. I'm Irish. Let's just say it got a little bit loose.
Well, as Bruno says, he doesn't mind pushing it further than it needs to be pushed. So keeping that in mind, it was just a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and subsequently myself.
As far as he was concerned.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I was pushing this. I mean, like it's like saying here you're drinking red wine when you're a beer drinker, and I don't want it. Oh, but you're going to drink it anyway. So it was a bit like that. So I mean. But myself and Bruno subsequently became good friends, and since we met in Sail GP as well, we've had some good laughs reflecting back on it. And I'm not saying that it didn't work from Mark Turner's point of view. I think it worked. I really genuinely think it had aspects of it being great, and then there was just parts of it where it was just not practical and really difficult. Especially take Matt for example. If you put a non-Spanish speaker into it, the conversation between Xabi and Juan Villa, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss these moments. And you can always translate in English and subtitles back in the office when you get the footage. But if you don't have an onboard reporter that speaks the language, you're running into problems, So anyway, we selected the group we had. We had 10 originally, and then the last boat wasn't taken, so we had to drop one from the team, that was probably one of the worst parts of my job. I had to ring up a guy and say, sorry, you're not on it anymore, which was sucked. But we did get him in to help us on different areas. And off we went, and we started the race. And, I mean, technology had improved, and we had the amazing drone footage that we never had before. And Sam Greenfield tried it, but the technology wasn't there in the 14-15 race. And we come to 17-18. And it's just like, holy shit, we are next level now.
Yeah.
That some of that drone stuff was just I think particularly that shot that Jan Rio did on him. You got to understand, right? There's two drones we use: the Phantom 4 Pro, which is a big, good size, fast, powerful drone, and it's easy to catch with the landing gear. Then you have the Mavic Pro, which is basically kind of what your mom had used, right? So it's not really that fast. It's not really that powerful. The guy flies it in the Southern Ocean in 6-7 meter waves in 40 knots of wind and manages to take off and get back on the boat. I was like, this is what it's all about here. And we'd never see that footage because you can't send a helicopter down there,
No.
So it was bloody incredible. And it had it was incredibly difficult for me because a lot of the times my colleagues were like, you don't seem to be working. You seem to be just going around to team bases. I was like, yeah, man, because there's fires in all of them, and I'm trying to put them out right now.
The HR department.
I was an extension to it for sure, yeah. There was but, all in all, it worked out fine in the end. We settled down the rotation of the OBRs, and we made it work for everybody. Not everybody was happy, but we just got on with it,
Yeah.
But I think the world would agree, the sailing world would agree, that footage was, you just said how excited you were. The whole world was excited. So, it's pretty special stuff.
You're spot on, BP. It was like a confluence of two things, that step up in footage. At the same time, you had the closest racing in the sport's history ever. So it was just like the perfect event. It was amazing, and you guys had the joy of broadcasting it.
Yeah, no, it was incredible, and I ended up doing 2 legs in the end. I told Leon, I'm not really interested in offshore sailing. I'm kind of done with it, the whole 26 days without a shower. And then we got to Melbourne, and do you remember Jen Edney? She was in the Southern Ocean of Mapray, and she fell, and she came in on Christmas Eve morning. Yeah. Oh, holy crap, her face, man. I barely even recognized the girl. It was so swollen. So I ended up spending the following 14 hours in A&E with her, signing medical forms, and she had scans and stuff. But the doctor said, nah, she's not going sailing. She needs to go back and rest. So I was like, oh, Leon, we have a problem now because we've no more OBRs left in the pool. He's like,
yes,
well,
he said, yes, you do.
And he goes, yep, we don't have a problem. You do.
Yeah.
Did you bring your boots?
This was always the situation that you can jump on. I was like, oh, mate. Oh, and it's a tropical leg. Here we go with the Sudocrem again.
Let's be
straight
fair,
down the chemist. Hey, Trey.
Let's be fair, though.
Holy crap.
Leon Sefton is a fantastic bloke, one of the nicest blokes you'd ever meet. So he's not unreasonable in his demands. It was just the way the situation played out.
Well, there was always, if there was an OBR that had to jump on for whatever, it was always going to be me. I was like, damn, okay. So I went on that leg with Dee Kafari, actually, to Hong Kong. And yeah, it was the 26 days of sweatiness. It was actually going back to the Sudocrem. It got so bad, Dee made me take my underwear off, lie flat on my belly on the stack on the forward part of the boat, just to get air to my bum, because she said, I'm worried if that gets infected, we might have to pull in somewhere. So you need to put the cream on it and you need to let air on it. So I was sat there with my ass in the air on the front of this boat in 30 degrees heat going across the equator going, I hate my life. I hate my life.
In the meantime, Amory's getting these beautiful drone shots of whales eating fish and stuff. And and someone off Dee's boat is getting a photo of a white dolphin.
Oh, mate!
Very rare white dolphin.
Very rare in these parts. The Irish white dolphin.
Never seen before.
And they took pictures and all. I was like, they're never getting published.
It's got to go through me.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So, still on the ocean race, what do you think is next, as from an onboard reporter point of view, and what's the progression? What you've seen it from both sides. The team owns the OBR, the organisation owns the OBR. What's the right balance?
And this is the thing with Mark Turner, and this is what I loved about his program, right? The practicalities of rotating them was difficult, okay? There's no, I'm not going to lie about that or pretend it wasn't easy. However, Mark's idea of being able to control the narrative to the point where now we have a group of people that are all working together, and that was one of the brainchilds of his movement. Instead of competing against each other like we all did in the 14-15 race to get a better story, we were now one unit. So instead of having one person's knowledge, we had 10 people and the organization feeding in all of this amazing different techniques and how to do this stuff. You come in from a leg and go, how did you do that shot? And then we were able to share all of this knowledge, which fundamentally made it the best onboard reporter gear there was so far. Although I don't know. Yeah, it definitely was. And that was the benefit of pulling all of these resources in. The issue was then personalities, and that goes with the sailing team. People are not always picked because of their CV. It's about getting on with people and having. It's probably more of that than it is what you've done in the past. You could have 10 Olympic medals and still be an asshole to sail offshore with. There's a lot of people that just aren't suited to that.
We've talked about that quite a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. So it comes down to that, and that's where the problem came with the OBR program in the last race, that people just clashed. It's natural. You're in a really high-pressure, high-stakes scenario, and then you have a guy that you're not really doesn't feel part of the team, and then on another team feels like he's completely ingrained and part of everything. So that was the addition. So the next addition, as far as I know, they're reverting back to the teams hiring them, and I get approached a lot, and people, just so I can say this, I do not work for the ocean race at the moment. And maybe I say at the moment because I say I'll never do another one, but I keep coming back. But I am not employed, so don't send your CVs to my email address anymore.
Would you like to announce all your socials and stuff so everyone can get in contact you to go offshore again?
I don't know why people think I'm still in charge of it, but I get but if Facebook messages to actually all the time.
So who have you signed up with actually?
No, I haven't signed up with anybody. I'm done with the ocean race for now.
Except the next one.
You're perfect for the next one, bro.
I don't know.
You're perfect for the next one. You're short.
I don't know. I mean,
you could live inside an iMocha quite easily, I reckon.
No way. I tried that mock-up with your Super 60 bike.
So,
not a hope, mate.
So that was actually leading on. My last question is leading on to this one. You did the
that's right.
Did the OBR role on Melitza coming with our mate Boris coming back across the Atlantic.
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
And as obviously for them, but also a bit of a test from a ocean race point of view.
Yeah.
Is it going to work?
I think it could work, but it's not going to be easy. I looked at the setup on Melitza, and I guess I did a lot of work with the 2016 campaign with Paul Maya for the Vendée Globe SMA. So I've sailed a lot on the Yamaha 60s over that kind of period between that first ocean race and the second one. And it was just me and Paul, or me and Mish Dej and Paul doing double-handed fastness and stuff. And that was fine. It was pretty easy. You shove 6 people on that boat plus an OBR, or 5 people plus an OBR. Holy God, man. There's no room because, the forward part's full of ribs. So there's no real place to sit or work from. When it gets rough, there's like, you can't put anything down because you fall off the foils in these things and the impact is bang. It's brutal, violence. And then there's nowhere to sleep safely as well. This is my biggest concern. I said, if you hit something, what happens when you're in an Yamaha if you're not in a bunk where you have something below your feet? Obviously there's a reason why you sleep feet forward in these boats, because if you do hit something, you don't crush your skull. It's your feet that you protect yourself from the impact. And I thought to myself, well, this is a bit sketchy because we're all on beanbags in a boat that's completely open inside. So if we hit something, what's going to happen? Like, where are we going to impact? Like, where are the impact zones internally? So it's kind of scary because, you're no longer doing, we're doing 20, 22, 23. Oh, we're back to 16, 17. Oh, now you're doing 30, 35. I sail an Alex Thompson.
Sorry, what speed? What speed you doing?
What? We were doing 37 knots.
Perfect.
37 knots in a mono hull. I was like, what the hell? So you hit something doing 37 knots, man. Oh, yeah, I see where this is going. 33. Oh, you fuckers. You got me there. Well done. I heard Annalise's one from last week. Should have known a bunch of bloody Australians. Damn.
No, in all seriousness.
37 nuts. Sorry, mate. Don't listen to BP.
No, don't listen to me. No, seriously. No, we understand. We know the story's going.
It's a good story. Keep going.
Yes, please.
But so, no, I mean, it was just, you're sailing across and you're kind of thinking, well, how the hell, even working on a laptop and stuff, it was literally on my lap and bouncing around. And then the cable kept pulling out and stuff. But I looked at it afterwards and I thought to myself, well, actually you could do it, but the traditional way of working as an OBR with your own desk and stuff is gone. Forget it. Like, it's going to be super uncomfortable. And in all seriousness, I don't know how you won't be able to go on deck when it's above 20 knots because the thing's just like a submarine. Water coming everywhere. It's going to be, you will get super cool shots, but in the Volvo 65, you're a lazy OBR if you do the hatch shot because you don't go out and get wet. There's another hatch shot. Here we go. Just get on deck, get wet, and get the shot. It's bad enough on a 65 when you're on deck by the shrouds trying to get a shot back because the waves do really hurt when you get pushed into them. But that was kind of some way sketchy and dangerous. You just can't do that on a 60. You just can't.
Nah, absolutely not.
They're just like, I don't know how many of your listeners have been on these things, but they are violent, and you can't hear a bloody thing because of the foils. It's super, super loud. It's a horrible existence. I'm telling you, those 60s, you ain't getting on me one of them around the world for love nor money. Not a hope.
So now that you've sold it to everyone, if you want to be an onboard reporter, what is the most important skill? Like, what do you have to show to do it? Like, now that you've said how exciting it's going to be and how difficult, what if, in your experience, what's the number one skill someone needs to demonstrate to be a good onboard reporter?
Got to be deaf.
Personality.
You got to be a jockey.
Small.
You got to be a jockey.
Yep.
Yeah, horse racers are in because they only weigh about 40 kilos, right? So you have to be super light. You'd have to be super light. You'd have a lot of patience. And I'm not saying you need to be a doctor, but you will need a lot of patience because they constantly move the stack on you. Like whatever about a 65, but on a 60, the stack moves like literally every 30 bloody minutes. If there's 2 knots of a change, stack gets moved. And that is so disruptive for workflow. I mean, it's super annoying. Oh yeah, by the way, pack everything up, we're moving the sail. And then you redo everything and then they move back. So
also add, you have to be a contortionist?
Contortionist, yeah. Like living in a very wet, damp, cramped, smelly environment, and occasionally get a bit of fresh air when they open the doors. So,
sounds like a really lovely job.
I think my wife might be perfect.
And the 65 is honestly the 65 is like a 5-star hotel. Going to an Amaka 60 is like camping, man.
Yeah, I hear.
Sounds good.
There's a big jump. There's a big jump.
Did you get with the applications? You said you had so much talent when you had the application. Did you get any bad ones?
Oh, there was a couple. Yeah, you kind of wonder like how. Did you make this on an iPhone? I mean, look, you can make it on an iPhone. It doesn't really matter, but you got to have a good story going with it. There was some. I had to go back and look at some of the ones that they pre-selected from the group before I came to see if there was anything else in there, and I did watch a couple of pretty questionable ones.
Because what was the criteria again? The 2 minutes, like basically,
you had 2 minutes.
You had 2 minutes, and you could do whatever you wanted. Be as creative, not creative, on a boat, off a boat, whatever the case.
It didn't have to be about sailing. It could have been about anything, but you just basically had to be a good storyteller. That was the fundamental part of it. If you can't tell a story, like you can have the most amazing photographer, but can't tell a story. You can have the most amazing cameraman, but can't tell a story. That's why there's producers and various different people in the industry to do this. So, you kind of had to be a really good storyteller, with a producer's mind always on, thinking about what would be good for television, what would be good for this. Some of them were just, terrible. I just remember one, I can't obviously go into too many details because they'll be recognized, but it was, it was basically a selfie video with a GoPro and that was it. I was like, wow. This is bad. But then, we got ones from
I'm
Tom
sorry
Hutchinson.
about that, guys. I was just looking
in a
for
G-string. You should have said G-string.
in my Barat outfit.
He didn't realise he was recording it.
God. But I mean, on the flip side of it, we got people like Tom Martinson. He's working a bit with Mark Bow on the Mercury project just at the weekend. And Tom was one of the guys who we had filled up the spots before we got him. We could get him on a boat. But he did 2 tours in Afghanistan. He's been shot at by the Taliban. This guy was incredible. He had an amazing story, and it was just like, damn it, we really want you, but we can't get you. So, there was people like that who were just like, wow, these people are mind-blowing. He went up Everest and shot the avalanche that happened a couple of years ago, The guy's an adrenaline junkie, amazing producer, and, that's the type of caliber that we got with the new program. So, it was an interesting time.
Cool. So, tell me, Brian, what's the future hold for Brian Carlin?
Oh, well, after that race, so in the 23rd of December, I get a phone call off Nikolai last year. Hey, mate. I was like, oh, yeah, how you doing, Nikolai? What's going on? Oh, yeah, I'm just down in, I'm just come back from New Zealand. I was doing some training with the F50. We're going to do the Sail GP campaign. It was just announced last week. I said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, funny, why didn't you call me up? Why didn't you give me a job? What's that about? Oh, no. Well, just wait. We're changing a couple of things. Would you like to come and join us and do some work for us? I said, yeah, of course I'd like to install the boys back. Of course I'd like to join you. And he says, okay, can you be in Auckland in 8 days? What? 8 days notice at Christmas time, Nikolai? Are you serious? This was like Christmas Eve or something. I was like, okay. Typical Nikolai, like drops me in at last minute. But yeah, I went down and I did 2 weeks with them, and we then negotiated to do basically join Sail GP. So I joined the Danish Sail GP team with Rockwell being the sponsor, and it was all going great. We managed to take John O'Turner with us as well.
Yep,
it was one of my. I don't think Rushy was too impressed, but I had to take John O because he's a good man, and myself and John will work really well together.
Very good get. Yes.
Yeah, it was a good steal.
He doesn't promote bar karate enough.
I bet he's loving you right now.
He probably is. Actually,
you've done one launch in the last 8 months. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, so
one regatta, one launch.
One regatta. I would go to Sydney. Things are great. We're getting a feel for it all. It's a bit different than what I'm used to. So we're getting a feel of how it works. Looks pretty cool. These boats are amazing. And we have a really good team. And I'm like, this is going to be sweet. This is going to be an amazing season. And Rockwell are very invested in it. So they're not just coming in for a year and going to disappear. They're like, there's a bit of longevity to the program. So I was like, this is going to be sweet. And then boom, COVID happened. I was like, oh God. So it was put on, well, SailGP rightly, I think, pushed it because we couldn't go to the States and we couldn't do all of those events. And so it was a bit like, so Nikolai said, this is crap. Like, we really need to be training as a team together. And Rockwell are just the most amazing sponsors. They were like, okay, what do you need? Can we get a GC32?
Yeah, I saw that.
They were like, yeah. So we started. So actually, funny enough, lockdown, April was even though I couldn't leave my apartment for the whole month, I think I worked 12-hour days trying to put this program together with Jono and Nikolai and Rockwell, the sponsors. So we kind of have this amalgamation of the Danish GP team sailors, athletes, and then Rockwell as a sponsor. So we kind of activate this year through a couple of round Zealand records. They're round Fun, round Zealand. There are 2 records around Denmark that Nikolai wants to beat, but he wants the challenge of it to push the sailors beyond just because we don't training partner at the minute in Denmark because there's no other GC32. So in order to do something to really push the sailors to their limit, the idea was that these record attempts would be a good motivator to do it. And then obviously they're going to do their own training and they're out sailing moths and all sorts of stuff, trying to get relevant experience in foiling. And then Nikolai said, well, we should really give back something to the young people of Denmark. So we're doing these Rock the Boat academies where we take kind of 13 to 21-year-olds out and we take them in their boats. So it could be 29er, 49er, whatever it might be, the Wasp. And spend a weekend that's fully funded by Rockwell to help these guys develop their skills and also give people an opportunity. You don't have to go down the Olympics. You don't have to go ocean racing. There's circuit racing like the SailGP. There's so many different varieties on our sport, and basically just get them all aware of what the possibilities are and help them in whatever way we can. Because I think Nikolai really wants to make a legacy for like, he's done 2 ocean races. He's becoming a bigger name in Denmark all the time. And he genuinely is a really good guy and wants to give something back to people. And so that's what we've been busy with. And it's no small feat organizing all of this stuff. There is so much going on. There's so much stuff that goes on behind closed doors. You see a photograph of our launch last week and that was it. But to get to that point, it was a huge task. And, Nikolai wouldn't say it about himself because he's too modest, but he's a damn good guy, and we have a damn good sponsor in it. So we're super happy that we can we're busy for the rest of the season. Basically, we have a lot going on, and hopefully that roll into the F50s next year. And yeah, the guys, GC is not an F50. You can't even compare it. I've seen both of them now, and it's like, but what it is relevant is communication and stuff with the guys on board and board down, board up, right? It's the instinctive nature of Nikolai had to look at all the controls and look at what was going on in Sydney and be aware of, because he's only 20 hours sailing an F50, like going into his first event. So his head was in the boat all the time, trying to figure out that he pressed the, all of the actions and all of the people. But what he hopes that at the end of the season that he comes in and his head will be out of the boat, so that he'll be able to look at the race course and what's going on around him a bit more. So I think he's doing a pretty. Instead
of saying, what does this red button do?
Definitely don't press the red button.
Don't press the red one.
Do not turn that knob past 10.
There is a red button on the F50 you're not meant to press. Actually, it's funny. Don't press it. Don't press that one.
Do not press it. Yeah.
There you go. There's always a red button.
There always is. But so this whole year was a disaster in 8 weeks ago, and now it's turned into something really positive for everybody, really, because it keeps me busy as well and employed, and we build a really good story around the team and what we're doing, and I think it's great. I'm very privileged, to be honest, given the state of affairs of sailing globally. I have a job that many people are not.
Well, it seems like you're reliving 2008, 7, and 9 again when you were the only person employed in Ireland. Just don't leave this one though, right? Your mum will kill you.
So, is it worth saying this to finish on? The luck of the Irish.
The luck of the Irish.
I don't know. A wise man once said, "There's no such thing as luck. It's when preparation meets opportunity."
So
philosophical.
And you are certainly the architect of that, my friend.
Nick Bice, in with the big swing. Love it.
Hey, Brian,
very cool.
We've wanted to get you for such a long time on the show. It's been so good having you on the show. We're definitely going to get you back. I'm not going to take the piss out of you because now they've heard your story, and I think they're going to pretty much just cuddle up to you now. You're going to be the most loved man in sailing from this point in time. I'm calling it.
I'm not sure about that.
You know what would be good? We might do a media special for our quiz thing. And
that'd be good.
Actually, that'd be fantastic.
And we'll put Brian into that. That'd be good.
What was the brand name of the cream that Brian liked
exactly.
so much?
I thought you were going to say, what was the brand name of the
Too many, man. You'd be Googling serial numbers for a long time to get that.
Oh, dear me. Very good. Very good. Hey, good one.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. We loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too, guys. Great to be on.
Thanks, mate. Send all our best to all our mates in Alicante, and look forward to jumping on a plane sometime soon and see you in the soup.
Cheers, boys.
Whoa, the luck of the Irish, and another great crack. Well, let's say that. By the way, that's CRAIC, I believe.
Correct.
It just fantastic guy to speak to and listen to his story. And I guess in the back of my mind and listening to everything that he was talking about, like he didn't start off in the whole media side of things. No. It was just something that became him. He became passionate about it.
Yep.
And he took it on, and he's been very successful at it.
Yep.
And he's a bloody good bloke to have a beer with.
Yes.
Some of the stories, I will say, are a little
loose.
A little loose and a little exaggerated. But so if you get both myself and Brian in a bar, you're getting
stuffed.
The stories are gone. Really appreciate Brian coming on. Love his story. Love the idea that the listeners wouldn't have listened to, but just after our quick chat of potentially doing a media game show.
Yeah. That'll work.
That would be fantastic, I reckon.
I'm pretty smart. I come up with some great ideas.
Yeah, you do.
That's why you're here.
That's why you're number one.
That's why you are number one Barcaradian. Number one Barcaradian.
Number one.
Just in case.
The leader.
For non-Australians. Non-Australians out there listening, two mates agreeing and saying you're good is about as good a big an insult as you can get. Those blokes were ripping me.
Hey, talk about ripping in. I thought we got him a beauty with the turkey.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Dirty.
Took him a couple of seconds to get it, didn't it? How many times? How fast? Sorry, how fast? If all goes to plan, we'll struggle doing it to the next person, but
yeah, we'll try. All right, let's move on to some other news there, gentlemen. I did spy something I quite liked this week. The Flying 15 class, which I like the Flying 15. I have a bit of a soft spot for them. They have got this really cool idea where you go onto their website and you can register if you want to try one out. And then it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you register on their site and then the local fleet will contact you and you can come and try a Flying 15. I think that's a really clever idea to bring people into their fleet, but also maybe even people into the sport. I love it. So I wanted to talk it up.
No, personally, I think that's a great idea. And I think from what I've seen, and I must admit I've never sailed a Fly 15, but that would be a pretty fruity boat, and to give that exciting, exhilarating feeling too, if it's the right conditions as well, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, it provides some pretty entertaining visuals when you're on the harbour watching the kids training, and they've got no fear. Yeah. No fear. I think it was Christmas, actually. They were all sailing around in Santa suits and elf suits, and they're blasting around doing bloody 20 knots. It was insane.
Yeah. Cool.
No, cool fleet, cool boats. Do it. Go onto the website and sign up and have a crack.
You can buy them cheap too. Like I think they have 3 levels at their World Champs, like a classic. I can't remember what the split is, what it's called, but the latest design. So you can buy an old cheapie and have a go if you want to do it that way. So that's good. Good news. Specific for Australia, the Queensland borders. Queensland is where I live in Australia. They open up on July 10, which means the major keelboat regattas of the season, which are up in the Whitsundays. So Early Race Week and Hamo Race Week will likely go ahead. They're going ahead, basically. They're full steam ahead, unless you're Victorian.
I wasn't going to mention.
So is it time to give the old Australia's like the Spice Girls line?
I was just thinking.
They're just planning the massive comeback. Everything's going super well, but Victoria just fucks it up for all.
Why did you use that word? Now I have to edit that out.
Don't worry, Brian said it many times.
Yeah. Actually, you know what we forgot to ask, Brian? If we could actually see any of his architecture designs anywhere, I'd love to have found that out. That would have been good. But, so that's good news. That's good news. Bad news, B14s, for those who know the B14 class, which is a double-handed winged. It's effectively it's a Bethwaite design, the B14. So 14-foot, no trapeze, just hiking. They were going to have their World Championships in January 21 at Woollahra Yacht Club, which is where Julian spends most of his time, the designer of that boat. They've cancelled them. Now, I'm guessing, because we're opening up here in Australia, but I'm guessing it's almost impossible to get boats down here from a logistics perspective to break the bubble. You know, like a lot of boats in the UK with the B14s. I don't think many of them will be allowed.
I think it's just an element of the unknown as well, isn't it? You've got to plan so far ahead for international travel, and no one really knows.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a shame because, again, another boat I have a soft spot for. They're not a huge fleet, but they're a good fleet. Like, I reckon they'd be a ton of fun to sail. We should put one into the Barcarati fleet, so we should actually add that to our list.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, good.
All three of us, we could just take turns, you know. Just
the aircraft carrier is starting to get full, though.
It is starting to get full, yeah. A little note here, recall of Land Rovers. Bicey, are you aware that they've recalled all crappy Land Rover Defenders from around the globe?
I highly doubt that would happen because you'd need them to pull all the other shitty four-wheel drives out when they get bogged. So for the industry, that's not bound to happen. But I'll tell you one little story. So this little Series 1 80-inch that I managed to procure over the last couple of weeks.
Those who don't know, what year is that?
It's a 1950. And from what I work out, it's got a little stamp on the radiator, December 49. And I took my mum for a drive the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And her birthday is December 49.
Wow.
So pretty ironic. But anyway, so
they haven't recorded any of those ones, have they?
Yeah, I'm just going to say Jan is in a whole lot better condition than your Land Rover, mate.
Yeah, yep. That's fair to say.
Yep.
But so I managed to find the original owner's manual. And I'm reading the owner's manual, but I can't do it without this prim and proper Tommy accent in my head.
And a tweed jacket on and a pipe.
I go to read the manual, put my tweed jacket on, my little driving cap, and light my pipe.
tweed jacket, reading your manual.
Oh,
so what goes on here? And the brakes must be.
Right. Bloody good fun. Myself and my mate Carlin Howard, we're having an absolute ball just playing around with these little things.
Yeah. It is interesting how many pro sailors have one of these Defenders. It is quite bizarre, isn't it? Yeah. It is quite bizarre. But anyway, good on you, mate. I'm going to continue to be on the negative side just to play the counterfoil, which is the whole reason this was in the run sheet.
So I have to be the mediator?
No. You come on my side, BP.
Because the beauty is when Jordan was commenting on our Instagram, Defenders Oz, by the way, at Defenders Oz, as bar karate, I have admin rights, so I just cancelled the subscription. Bar karate no longer follows Defenders Oz.
You idiot. Hey, BP, you put up a photo that dragged a lot of attention onto our little Facebook page the other day.
Well, it got my attention.
What was that?
Well, that Figaro NF Habitat has gone and decided to put itself. Well, one says it's hit a marker, but it looks a bit more than that to me. But anyway, I guess they'll find out exactly. But that's absolutely destroyed.
You know that you remember the James Bond movies where they had that guy Jaws? Remember the guy Jaws from those old ones with the Roger Moore era James Bond? It looks like he's been munching on the front of it, doesn't it?
You could put it that way, but I'll tell you what, they were just towing it in, and apparently it just got. They had to work out another way to get it back because it was
top backwards.
Sinky, yeah. Mate, what a hit!
Couldn't they have just put those foils down and it would have lifted up and out?
Oh yeah. No comment.
No comment. Oh dear. Anyway, to the guys on NF Habitat. I hope you get it all back together. I'm not sure how they will actually repair that and keep it one design. So,
well, I mean, ultimately everyone's safe, so that's the first and foremost. But what an impact! Wow.
The other thing I want to mention, boys, is episode 57. I've never had a reaction. So that was the one with Sandy McKinnon, the Voyage of Jack de Crow. That was really outside our sort of area where we talked to all the top pros in our world. And then we went with this thing. I have never had a reaction. Like I get so many emails. I got a phone call last night from one of the top sailors in Australia just saying how much he loved that whole episode. And, so
everyone's an adventurer at heart.
It's great, isn't it?
This guy just lived.
We're going to try and do more of those.
Lived and breathed it.
I mean, when... before the show, speaking with Sandy, and we were telling him what we do and who we spoke to, and you could almost feel a bit of he felt almost a little intimidated. Oh, yeah, we speak to the gold medalist, the Rolex Yachtsman of the Year, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, when we talk, look, we just want to know your story. Yeah. And that's what the whole thing's about, and that's why we actually really loving these the conversation side of things. His story and the way he told it, he would be the perfect guy to go, definitely not before us at a yacht club. Yeah. But maybe after us.
Yeah. So if you haven't listened, and if you're a non-sailor, the reason I brought it up, because I know we've got a lot of really loyal fans. We're really lucky and we appreciate every one of you. A lot of loyal fans, if you want to introduce your friends to bar karate and they're not sailors, get them to listen to that episode. You don't have to be a sailor. You don't have to even have the slightest understanding of sailing, but it is just the best episode. So I just wanted to get that out there. We're having such a great response.
No offence, Tom Slingsby or Robin Ash.
Oh, yeah, no, look, all the episodes are great. We love every single one. It's like giving birth every week, isn't it? We love everything that comes out.
No, you're right, actually. It is humbling. It's fantastic.
Just before we go on to the last topic, I'll just say if you do want to follow us, we do have a Facebook page, so just Bar Karate. Instagram is at Bar Karate. We're really clever because no one else came up with the idea of the words bar and karate together before us. And barkarate.com for the website. And we've got a YouTube page now where we're just starting to experiment. So
we've got our own clothing range.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got the merchandise, correct?
Yep. Jump on that. So Or just ignore all that crap and just listen to us occasionally and have a good time. But, so I just wanted to get that out there.
Well said.
All right. Okay, and then BP, the last thing I thought...
Yeah, this is exciting, isn't it?
You tell it.
Well, I've known Pip Hare for a long, long time, and her devotion to sailing is second to none. Living the dream, if you like, and it's her dream. It's her goal, and has noted that she's got herself a fully pledged sponsor for the Vendée. So good on her. Medallia Experience Management Software came out on today. A really cool video. So she's going to be all over it. Yeah. We're happy for her.
Cool.
She's been on the show. We just wanted to say congratulations and good on Medallia, which is an experience management software company. Good on them. Yeah. Cool.
Well done, Pip.
Looking forward to
well
the
done, man.
Gentlemen. All right.
See ya.
Go in peace. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll speak to you next week.
Peace, guys.
Turn me on me, Brian, go